Now, we will have a look at the market. Risks for health, for especially sensitive people, have already been mentioned. You see for histamine what it means, hypertension, headache, vomit, nausea, diarrhea. Then for tyramine, hypertension, the other problems that were mentioned, plus respiratory problems, palpitation. And then there is cadaverine, which in addition to giving sensory problems also enhance the effect of biogenic amines by inhibiting enzymes involved in the natural process of detoxification. And all this has to be related to alcohol, as we saw. But it is very difficult to set limits because things change much from person to person. And this means that so far no threshold have been established, because there is an individual variability. There is, though, an action plan to find and limit contaminants in wine on the part of OIV. This was followed by a codex of good winemaking practices in order to minimize the presence of biogenic amines in wines. First of all, in the vineyard, and with reference to the vine, reducing vigor and healthy problems. Then harvest, you have to bring to the winery only healthy grapes, and you have to process them rapidly. In the winery, a good selection of grapes and vinification should have a fast and not interrupted alcoholic fermentation. And I would say that all good winemakers do that. But we have an issue in Italy with reference to the usage of the next point, which is selected bacteria, or which do not produce biogenic amines. That is the famous magic number that Natalia was referring to earlier on. This is something that we do not consider in Italy. We simply wait in Italy for malolactic fermentation after taking care of alcoholic fermentation, and will really leave an open window to several problems. Then there is the issue of storage. Their suggestion is to have proper analysis and clarification and fining to control producing organisms. Unless you did the co-inoculum, you have to see what has remained in the wine and remove it. Otherwise, amines will increase. There are countries that set up arbitrary thresholds which are recommended, going from 2 milligrams per liter in Germany to 10 in Switzerland and Austria. Several importers established their own limits and thresholds. Oftentimes, they work with large-scale distribution with big supermarkets, and they establish their thresholds to be on the safe side. Between 5 and 10 milligrams per liter is the threshold in this case. Plus, there are the healthy wines now on the market. That is, those wines that have very limited presence of histamine, very low levels of histamine, and of SO2. That is, again, healthy wines. It is clear that it is very well known that red wine is good for your health, but if it is full of amines, that is not good. There are already ads, both in the USA and in Northern Europe, about the consequence of biogenic amines in wines. What you see there are pictures about headache. Here there is an example of a wine from Veneto, a red wine, obtained with co-inoculation viniflora. You see that alcohol is 13, which means that it is a significant wine, and there are the 5 samples. You see that sample 4 has less than 0.1 of biogenic histamine. There is 1.2 in sample 2, a bit more, because evidently there was something in the tank that had not been properly cleaned, probably. But anyway, they are all under the milligram per liter. So this was a healthy wine. To conclude, we need to say that bioprotection in general makes it possible for us to have fewer biogenic amines in wines and less sulfites, where have therefore healthier and cleaner wines. And if properly managed, all this makes it possible to lower costs and to be on the safe side on each and every market in relation to those markets that set thresholds for the quantities we mentioned. And you see in Bordeaux, the great chateaux already produce with very low levels of biogenic amines, because you do not know whether in 10, 20, 30 years you will have thresholds, because perhaps you produce your wine today, but you will open the bottle in 20 years from now, and you will have to be sure that it can be drunk at the time. Thank you very much, and of course I hope that there are questions.